Singers, have you ever started an exercise scale or a phrase in a song and it started out pretty good, but by the time you got to the end of the phrase, you were losing the connection or feeling like you had to get involved and it was starting to pull? There's a fix for that. It's called anchoring. Why the first note matters. How connected onset builds stability, control, and vocal coordination. Now, this concept can completely change the stability and consistency of your voice. Anchoring and/or establishing the first note in any phrase can help you balance through the rest of the phrase. So if you're experiencing something like it's falling apart, listen to this. If I activate the first note, so I've established a connection on the very first note that's allowed me to feed the rest of the phrase connected and balanced. So again, unbalanced, sound pretty good. I don't have that connection and I can't maintain it. If I say the first note, I've established a connection. If I did it on an octave scale, now I'm at the top of my transition here. If I was just stylizing and I didn't anchor the first note, I'm either going to have to flip or I'm going to have to get, aggressive with it on the top. But if I anchor the first note, now I found that connection. This is also the same on a descending pattern. I'm going to slam into chest voice because I've maintained this, somewhat not completely adducted sound on the top. Now if I anchor it, balanced throughout. So if the first note is unstable, the rest of the phrase usually falls apart. You have to compensate. You have to approximate or get involved. You need to practice the mindset of refusing to assist the pitch at all costs. So not getting involved. Anchoring the first note helps you establish that and feed the phrase. It'll be much easier. So singers often think, I struggle on the top note. But many times the coordination problem was already established on the first note in onset, whether that's an ascending pattern or a descending pattern. So the definition of anchoring is establish a connected tone on the first note and creating a balanced and stable connection throughout the remainder of the phrase or exercise or scale. It helps develop stronger, secure onset habits, more control, balanced vocal cord closure or adduction, a coordination and consistency throughout your register, throughout the working part of your register. Anchoring is not about pushing, it's not about squeezing, it's not about excessive support. It's establishing efficiency and coordination from the very beginning. If you enjoy this kind of structured vocal training content, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel. It really helps support the work and allows me to continue building more content like this. The concept of anchoring is very simple. It's establishing the first note. Keep this in mind while you're exercising. You don't want it to get to the point where you're aggressively finding those notes and bringing them together, because if your vocal tends to say is no chest voice and you're just naturally, well then you don't want to sound like you're gripping. You don't want that. There's a balance. Think of it as speech level, just talking. Say the first note. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. No extra effort on each note, just an established connection. A mindset that says, I'm going to anchor the note. Mum, 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 mum. And you can work your way. You work your way from chest voice. Mum, 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 ascending. Mum, 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 establishing the first note. Mum, 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 Sure, there's all kinds of other tools we can add. Once we get closer to the transition and the larynx may want to start to lift on you, so you would anchor the first note, mum, just say mum, and as you ascend to the top, which now is in my transition, I might lower my larynx slightly. Mum, 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 back to normal or neutral on the bottom. Mum, 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 mum. This allows me to keep the balance, keep the connection. By establishing that first note, I put myself in the position to stay connected through the rest of the phrase. No matter the exercise or phrase that you're applying this to, if you keep the mindset of establishing or anchoring that first note, it's going to be of assistance for you, both physically and mentally, once you find that connection, to keep that connection through the rest of the phrase. It can be especially helpful on longer scales. So if I was doing an octave phrase, this is definitely in the top of my transition or getting into the bottom of my head voice. And if it was a wider vowel, I could start to pull, right? Now, if I'm not anchored, I'm either going to pull or flip. It's not established. Establish that connection. Just say, poor baby, Once I find it, it's like I'm on a track and I don't lose it. On longer scales like the 1 1/2 octave, it could sound like this if I don't connect. If I don't establish that first note, if I was to, something's going to happen. If I establish it, just say, it becomes quite an effective tool. Establishing the very first note in the phrase or scale allows us to maintain balance throughout the entire phrase. We get stability through changing pitches, and you can exercise this in a staccato fashion. You can exercise this in a legato fashion. If you find you're anchoring on the bottom and the top note still falls apart, like it wants to do something, it could just be in this part of your register. There's other concentrations at play here. What you could do is do it on a staccato stance. So I'm not having to hold the note very long. I establish the first note. I go through the rest of the phrase. Each note gets the same attention. Mentally, I'm thinking the same volume. So I've established that first note. Again, if I didn't, doesn't matter what I do, it's going to fall apart or force me to squeeze. Anchor. Once that starts to feel comfortable, you come back down and you can sing it legato. Anchor. You'll start to feel that you can now connect these phrases, both ascending and descending. Certainly the rest of your concentrations, breath flow, vocal cord closure, the laryngeal tilt, dopey, bratty, neutral, and vowel modification, these all are key factors in developing a balanced voice. Learning to anchor and establish the first note becomes a really great tool that assists all of your other concentrations in establishing muscle memory. So that's it. Very simply complicated. We looked at how anchoring affects your onset, your stability, coordination, adduction, transition balance, and overall vocal consistency. Anchoring isn't about establishing connection immediately. A balanced first note creates a much better chance for balanced coordination throughout the rest of the phrase. And over time, through mindful repetition and deep practice, those coordinations become more automatic and reliable. If you'd like to work through exercises in a structured way, the Virtual Voice Coach app includes interval training, scale systems, deep practice modules, vocal analysis, workouts, and guided coordination development for singers. Check out the link below. Stability in the voice doesn't happen by accident. It's trained, starting with the very first note. Sing for yourself.